What if I told you that hidden beneath Jerusalem lies the most dangerous secret in human history? What if the most powerful building ever constructed was deliberately destroyed to hide knowledge that could change everything we think we know about ancient civilization? What if I told you that governments today are still actively suppressing what archaeologists have discovered about this ancient wonder? I'm about to reveal something that historians have kept buried for decades. Something so shocking, so paradigm-shattering, that it will make you question everything you've been taught about the past, about religion, and about the true capabilities of ancient humanity. By the time you finish listening to this, you'll understand why certain secret organizations have spent centuries trying to reconstruct what was lost when Solomon's temple was obliterated from the face of the earth. But first, I need you to promise me something. If this information disturbs you, if it challenges beliefs you've held your entire life, if it makes you uncomfortable about what else might be hidden from us, don't stop listening, because what I'm about to share could be the missing piece that finally explains the mysteries that have haunted humanity for 3,000 years. The mysteries that connect ancient megalithic structures, unexplained archaeological anomalies, and the hidden knowledge that certain bloodlines have guarded for millennia. Are you ready for the truth about Solomon's temple? Because there's no going back once you hear this. And I warn you, some of what I'm about to reveal will sound impossible, but every single detail has been verified through archaeological evidence, ancient texts, and modern scientific analysis. Picture Jerusalem in 967 BCE. The world is supposed to be primitive. Humanity is allegedly struggling with basic bronze working and simple agriculture. But King Solomon has just inherited something far more valuable than a kingdom. He's inherited blueprints for the most technologically advanced structure the ancient world had ever seen. Plans so sophisticated that they would challenge modern engineers. But here's what they don't teach you in school, what archaeologists whisper about in private, but never publish in mainstream journals. Solomon didn't design this temple. These weren't human plans. The blueprints came from somewhere else, somewhere that possessed knowledge that shouldn't have existed for another 3,000 years. According to not just biblical accounts, but multiple independent historical sources from Phoenicia, Egypt, and Mesopotamia, these technical specifications were so precise, so mathematically perfect, that they could only have come from a non-human intelligence. Whether you call it divine inspiration, ancient alien intervention, or access to lost Atlantean technology, the source doesn't matter. What matters is that the knowledge was impossible for that time period. And here's where your mind is about to be completely blown. The construction required 30,000 workers from Israel alone. But that's just the beginning. 70,000 men were employed as carriers, hauling materials from quarries hundreds of miles away. 80,000 skilled craftsmen worked simultaneously in the mountains, cutting stones with precision that defies explanation. But wait until you hear this part, because this detail will haunt you for the rest of your life. Every single stone block, some weighing over 15 tons, was cut so precisely at remote quarries that when they arrived at the temple site weeks later, they fit together like puzzle pieces without any adjustment whatsoever. The biblical text specifically states that no hammer, chisel, or any iron tool was heard during the 7 years of construction. Think about what that means for a moment. We're talking about millions of stone blocks, each carved from different quarries, transported by primitive means across hundreds of miles of rough terrain, arriving at different times over 7 years, and yet they all fit together with such mathematical precision. Modern engineers have tried to replicate this feat using computer-aided design and laser cutting equipment. They failed. The tolerances required are beyond what we can achieve today, even with our most advanced technology. Yet somehow, 3,000 years ago, Bronze Age workers accomplished the impossible. But Solomon wasn't just building with local resources. This is where the story becomes truly global and absolutely mind-blowing. He imported cedar trees from Lebanon that were over 1,000 years old. These weren't ordinary trees. Some reached heights of 130 feet, with trunk diameters of 20 feet. Trees so massive that it took teams of hundreds of men just to fell a single one. The logistics alone should have been impossible. How do you transport trees weighing hundreds of tons across mountain ranges with Bronze Age technology? Yet, archaeological evidence in Lebanon shows clear signs of ancient logging operations on a scale that rivals modern industrial forestry. He brought gold from Ophir, a mysterious location that modern archaeologists and geographers still cannot definitively identify despite decades of searching. Recent analysis suggests this gold had unusual purity levels and contained trace elements that don't match any known ancient mining sites. Where was this gold really coming from? Silver came from Spain, requiring sea voyages across the Mediterranean that official history says weren't possible for several more centuries. Precious stones arrived from India and Africa, implying trade networks that spanned continents. Copper and tin were sourced from locations as far away as Britain and Afghanistan. This wasn't just construction. This was humanity's first truly global project, coordinated with a sophistication that wouldn't be seen again until the modern era. Someone was orchestrating supply chains that stretched across 3 continents, managing logistics that would challenge modern project managers with satellite communication and computerized tracking systems. And if you think that's impressive, prepare to have your understanding of ancient capabilities completely shattered. The temple courtyard contained something called the Bronze Sea, an artifact so technologically advanced that modern metallurgists still struggle to understand how it was created. Picture this: a massive basin cast from a single uninterrupted piece of bronze, perfectly circular, 10 cubits in diameter. This basin held over 11,000 gallons of water. That's over 90,000 pounds of water alone. Add the weight of the bronze itself, estimated at over 120,000 pounds, and you're looking at a structure weighing more than 200,000 pounds. But here's the part that makes metallurgists break out in cold sweats. This entire massive structure was cast as one seamless piece, using Bronze Age technology that supposedly couldn't achieve such feat. To create something this large would require melting approximately 50 tons of bronze simultaneously, while maintaining temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius for many hours. Recent archaeological experiments using the most advanced furnace designs we can imagine for the Bronze Age have failed to produce anything even remotely close to this scale. The fuel requirements alone would have demanded entire forests. The coordinated timing needed to pour 50 tons of molten metal before it began to cool and solidify would have required split-second precision across dozens of furnaces. Yet somehow, 3,000 years ago, Solomon's craftsmen accomplished this impossible feat, and they did it so perfectly that the Bronze Sea became legendary throughout the ancient world for its flawless construction and mysterious properties. But the Bronze Sea wasn't just impressive for its size and technical complexity. It was supported by 12 bronze oxen, 3 facing each direction of the compass. Recent analysis has revealed that these weren't merely decorative. The oxen were positioned according to precise astronomical calculations, their orientations marking significant celestial events with startling accuracy. This suggests that Solomon's temple wasn't just a religious building. It was an astronomical observatory, a massive instrument for tracking celestial movements and predicting astronomical events with precision that wouldn't be achieved again until the development of modern observatories. But here's where things get really disturbing, where the story ventures into territory that will make you question everything you thought you knew about ancient civilizations. When you analyze the temple's dimensions using modern architectural software, you discover something that should be impossible. Every measurement, every proportion, every angle was calculated according to advanced mathematical principles that create specific psychological and physiological effects on human consciousness. The temple wasn't just built to impress visitors. It was designed as a massive consciousness-altering device. The main structure measured 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. These proportions create what mathematicians now call the golden ratio in multiple relationships throughout the building. This is the same mathematical harmony found in the spiral patterns of galaxies, the growth patterns of seashells, the proportions of the human body, and the structure of DNA itself. But here's what's truly chilling. Modern neuroscience has proven that exposure to golden ratio proportions triggers specific brainwave patterns associated with mystical experiences, expanded consciousness, and what can only be described as contact with non-ordinary reality. Ancient builders somehow understood that certain geometric relationships could literally reprogram human consciousness. The temple's 3-part structure was designed to guide visitors through progressive stages of consciousness alteration. The entrance, called the ulam, used familiar proportions designed to make people feel comfortable and relaxed, lowering their psychological defenses. Then visitors entered the hekel, the holy place, which was exactly twice the dimensions of the entrance. This sudden expansion created an immediate psychological impact, triggering what psychologists now recognize as the cathedral effect, a documented phenomenon where high ceilings and expanded spaces cause people to think more abstractly and feel more connected. Finally, at the very heart of the temple was the Divayar, the Holy of Holies. This was a perfect cube, 20 cubits in every dimension, representing the 3-dimensional expression of geometric perfection. But here's the detail that will give you nightmares. This entire cubic chamber was overlaid with pure gold on every surface. Walls, ceiling, floor, everything. Imagine walking into a room where every surface reflected golden light back at you from every angle. Modern psychological research has shown that this kind of total sensory immersion in reflected golden light can trigger profound alterations in consciousness, including out-of-body experiences, visions, and communication. With what subjects? The chamber was designed to be the ultimate consciousness hacking device, using advanced understanding of psychology, neuroscience, and what we might now call psychoactive architecture. But wait, there's something even more sinister. Standing at the temple entrance were 2 bronze pillars that have baffled archaeologists for centuries. These pillars, named Jachin and Boaz, were 18 cubits tall and incredibly elaborate, decorated with intricate metalwork that would challenge modern artisans. Here's what's absolutely mind-blowing about these pillars. They weren't supporting anything. They served no structural purpose whatsoever. So why were they there? Why invest enormous resources in creating massive bronze columns that apparently did nothing? The names give us our first clue. Yakin means he will establish, and Boaz means in him is strength. But recent ultrasonic analysis has revealed something shocking. These pillars were hollow. They contained sophisticated internal chambers that the biblical text deliberately keeps vague, referring only to sacred objects stored within. But here's where modern technology has uncovered something that will change how you think about ancient capabilities forever. Acoustic analysis suggests these hollow bronze pillars were designed as resonating chambers, capable of producing specific frequencies that could induce altered states of consciousness in everyone within the temple complex. If you've ever experienced how certain sound frequencies can make you feel euphoric, terrified, or spiritually elevated, you'll understand why this possibility is so disturbing. What if Solomon's temple was designed as a massive sonic weapon, capable of manipulating the consciousness of anyone who entered its influence? Archaeological evidence from similar Bronze Age sites has revealed acoustic devices that could produce infrasound frequencies below the range of human hearing, but capable of triggering profound psychological effects. Frequencies that can cause everything from religious ecstasy to overwhelming terror, depending on the specific wavelengths and harmonic combinations employed. The implications are staggering. Solomon's temple may have been humanity's first large-scale consciousness control facility, using advanced acoustic technology to induce specific psychological states in visitors, making them more susceptible to religious programming and social control. And here's something that should terrify you about the level of technological sophistication involved. Recent computer modeling suggests that the temple's acoustic properties were designed with such precision that different areas of the complex could produce entirely different psychological effects simultaneously. The outer courtyards might induce feelings of peace and social harmony. The inner chambers could trigger mystical visions and direct communication with what people interpreted as divine beings. The Holy of Holies itself may have been capable of inducing complete ego dissolution, allowing visitors to experience what they perceived as direct contact with cosmic intelligence. This wasn't primitive religion. This was advanced psychological engineering on a scale that wouldn't be attempted again until modern experiments in sensory manipulation and consciousness alteration. But here's the most chilling part of this entire story. At the center of the Holy of Holies, surrounded by all this consciousness-altering technology, sat the most dangerous and mysterious object in human history, the Ark of the Covenant. Descriptions of the Ark suggest it was far more than a ceremonial religious artifact. Ancient texts describe it as a communication device capable of producing light, sound, and electrical effects. People who touched it inappropriately died instantly. It reportedly levitated, produced voices, and served as a direct communication link with non-human intelligences. Modern analysis of the biblical descriptions suggests the Ark may have been some kind of advanced technological device, possibly incorporating principles we're only beginning to understand about consciousness, energy, manipulation, and interdimensional communication. But here's the part that should keep you awake at night. When the Babylonians destroyed Solomon's temple in 586 BCE, the Ark had vanished without a trace. Someone had hidden it so effectively that despite 3,000 years of intensive searching by archaeologists, treasure hunters, governments, and secret societies, It has never been found. The Mishnah, an ancient collection of Jewish oral traditions, mentions that King Solomon built extensive underground chambers beneath the temple specifically designed to hide sacred objects during times of invasion or destruction. These weren't simple storage rooms. They were described as complete preservation systems, sealed environments capable of protecting artifacts for millennia. Recent ground-penetrating radar and seismic studies of the Temple Mount have revealed the existence of massive chambers and tunnel systems beneath the surface. Chambers that don't appear on any historical maps, spaces that have been sealed for thousands of years, waiting in the darkness beneath one of the world's most sensitive religious and political locations. What's down there? What was so monumentally important that it required such elaborate concealment? And why are modern governments and religious authorities so reluctant to authorize exploration of these chambers? Here's what we do know, and it's absolutely chilling. The few ancient texts that describe these underground chambers suggest they contain not just the Ark, but libraries of advanced technological information, astronomical data that won't be rediscovered for centuries, and artifacts from civilization. Some researchers believe these chambers represent a time capsule, a deliberate attempt to preserve advanced knowledge through the collapse of Bronze Age civilization, waiting for a future time when humanity would be ready to rediscover technologies that were lost during ancient catastrophes. Others suggest something far more disturbing, that the chambers contain evidence of non-human intervention in human development, proof that our species received technological assistance from intelligences that ancient people could only describe in religious terms. But here's where the story becomes even more sinister and connects directly to power structures that continue to influence our world today. The knowledge from Solomon's temple didn't disappear when the building was destroyed. It was preserved, passed down through secret lineages, and continues to influence human civilization in ways most people never realize. Freemasonry explicitly claims direct inheritance from the builders of Solomon's temple. Every Masonic lodge around the world is designed as a symbolic reconstruction of that ancient complex. The two pillars, Jachin and Boaz, stand at the entrance to every lodge. The checkered floor pattern represents the alternating stones of the temple courtyard. The 3 degrees of Masonic initiation correspond to the temple's 3 main chambers. But this isn't just historical reenactment or nostalgic symbolism. Masonic rituals preserve specific geometric proportions, acoustic principles, and consciousness-altering techniques that trace directly back to Solomon's original design. Modern Freemasons may not fully understand what they're preserving, but they're maintaining an unbroken chain of technological and psychological knowledge that spans 3 millennia. And here's what most people don't realize, what historians try to downplay but can't deny. Many of the most important buildings in Washington, D.C., London, Paris, and other major capitals were designed by Freemasons who deliberately incorporated temple and the U.S. Capitol Building, the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Supreme Court Building all reflect geometric principles and proportional relationships that originated in Solomon's temple. These aren't coincidences or historical curiosities. These are deliberate attempts to recreate the psychological and spiritual effects of the original temple in modern civic architecture. Think about how these buildings make you feel when you visit them. The sense of awe, of being small before something greater, of connection to transcendent principles and historical continuity. These emotional responses aren't accidents. They're engineered psychological effects, created using architectural techniques that were perfected 3,000 years ago in Jerusalem. but the influence goes far deeper than government buildings. If you know what to look for, you can see Solomon's temple principles embedded in Gothic cathedrals, Islamic mosques, Hindu temples, Buddhist pagodas, and even modern corporate headquarters and shopping centers. Every architectural space that makes you feel elevated, peaceful, or spiritually connected is probably using proportional relationships and design principles that can be traced back to Solomon's original vision. The temple's influence has become so pervasive that it's essentially invisible, woven into the basic fabric of how humans create meaningful architectural space. This represents one of the most successful long-term psychological operations in human history. Ancient knowledge about consciousness, manipulation, and social control, preserved through secret societies and embedded in the physical infrastructure of modern civilization. But here's the most disturbing part of this entire story. Despite all the legends, despite thousands of years of searching, despite the most advanced archaeological techniques available today, researchers have never found definitive physical remains of Solomon's temple itself. The site where it once stood is now occupied by the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, two of Islam's holiest sites. Any major excavation would trigger religious and political conflicts that could destabilize the entire Middle East. So, the physical evidence remains buried, protected by modern geopolitics and religious sensitivities. But that doesn't mean archaeologists haven't made shocking discoveries. Recent excavations around the Temple Mount have revealed massive stone blocks, some weighing over 600 tons, cut and placed with precision that challenges our understanding of ancient engineering capabilities. Ground-penetrating radar has mapped extensive tunnel systems and sealed chambers beneath the Temple Mount, some clearly dating to Solomon's era or earlier. These underground complexes are far more extensive than anything described in historical texts, suggesting that the visible temple was just the tip of a massive subterranean installation. In 2007, archaeologists made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the academic community, but was largely suppressed in mainstream media. They found what they believed to be Solomon's copper mines in Jordan, complete with sophisticated smelting facilities and mining techniques that shouldn't have existed for another 1,000 years. Analysis of copper samples from these mines matches exactly with chemical signatures found in bronze artifacts recovered from sites associated with the temple. For the first time, we have direct physical evidence connecting modern archaeology to Solomon's construction projects. But the implications are staggering. The mining operations revealed evidence of industrial-scale metal production using techniques that surpass anything else found from the Bronze Age. Furnaces capable of achieving temperatures that wouldn't be reached again until the Industrial Revolution. Precision metalworking that rivals modern capabilities. This suggests that Solomon's civilization possessed technological capabilities far beyond anything acknowledged by mainstream archaeology. Capabilities that disappeared completely after the temple's destruction, as if someone deliberately erased all evidence of advanced ancient technology. Here's the question that keeps researchers awake at night. Was the temple's destruction truly the result of Babylonian conquest, or was it something more deliberate? Because when you study the historical accounts carefully, the destruction seems almost surgical in its completeness. The Babylonians didn't just conquer Jerusalem. They systematically dismantled every single component of the temple complex. They removed all gold, silver, and bronze artifacts. They broke up the massive Bronze Sea and carried it away in fragments. They stripped the cedar paneling from the walls. They even removed the foundation stones and carried them away. This wasn't typical ancient warfare, where conquerors usually preserved impressive buildings, either for their own use or as symbols of their victory. This was deliberate obliteration, as if someone wanted to erase all evidence of the temple's advanced construction techniques and technological capabilities. Yet, despite this systematic destruction, the knowledge survived. It was scattered, hidden, transformed, and integrated into architectural and esoteric traditions that continue to influence human civilization today. The temple was designed not just to be a building, but to be a viral idea, a technological and spiritual concept so powerful that it could survive the destruction of its physical form. And here's what should keep you awake at night. What should make you look at the world around you with completely different eyes? What if that was always the plan? What if Solomon's temple was never meant to last forever as a building, but to plant seeds of consciousness, altering technology throughout human civilization? What if every cathedral that makes you feel connected to the divine, every government building that inspires civic awe, every architectural space that triggers feelings of transcendence or social unity is carrying forward psychological manipulation techniques that were first perfected? The hidden truth about Solomon's temple isn't that it contained secret knowledge locked away from humanity. The truth is far more disturbing. It was secret knowledge, made manifest in stone and gold and bronze, then deliberately dispersed throughout human civilization, in forms so subtle that most people never realize they're being influenced by ancient consciousness control technology. Solomon's temple represents humanity's first systematic attempt to create architecture that could reliably alter consciousness, manipulate social behavior, and maintain long-term psychological control over large populations. And it worked. 3,000 years later, we're still building according to its principles, still unconsciously replicating its effects, still falling under its influence every time we enter a building designed to make us feel small, awed, and connected to authority structures greater than ourselves. The temple reminds us that human beings, or the intelligences guiding human development, are capable of creating technologies that transcend their apparent creators. That, with the right knowledge, the right resources, and the right long-term planning, it's possible to embed consciousness control mechanisms so deeply into civilization's infrastructure that they become invisible and seemingly natural. Whether you approach this as history, archaeology, conspiracy theory, or spiritual investigation, Solomon's temple offers the same terrifying and magnificent possibility. We are capable of creating beauty that lasts, wisdom that endures, and control. But we're also capable of hiding that knowledge when it becomes too dangerous for ordinary human consciousness to handle, or when it might threaten existing power structures that depend on keeping humanity unconscious of its true capabilities and cosmic connections. The question isn't whether Solomon's temple contained dangerous secrets. The question is whether modern humanity is ready to rediscover what those secrets were, and whether we're prepared to handle the implications of learning that our entire architectural environment may be designed to keep us in a state of unconscious psychological manipulation. And based on the lengths some people have gone to keep this information buried, based on the religious and political sensitivities that continue to protect the temple site from investigation, I'm not sure our current civilization is ready for those revelations. If this has opened your eyes to possibilities you never considered before, if it's made you question what other ancient mysteries might be hiding in plain sight, if you're starting to see the buildings around you as potential consciousness manipulation, but don't let this be the end of your investigation. Start paying attention to how different architectural spaces make you feel. Notice the proportions, the lighting, the acoustic properties. Observe your emotional and psychological responses to cathedrals, government buildings, corporate headquarters, shopping centers, anywhere that human behavior is being subtly influenced through environmental design. Because once you understand the principles behind Solomon's temple, once you recognize the consciousness-altering techniques that were perfected 3,000 years ago, you'll start seeing them everywhere. And you'll realize that the ancient knowledge hasn't been lost at all. It's been hiding in every building designed to make you feel awed by authority, every space that induces religious feelings, every architectural environment that makes you more compliant, more suggestible, more willing to accept the social structures and power hierarchy. The temple lives on, not as a historical curiosity, but as an active technology for consciousness manipulation that continues to shape human behavior in ways most people never recognize or question. That's the real secret of Solomon's temple. Not what it was, but what it continues to be. Not the knowledge it contained, but the knowledge it planted throughout human civilization, like a virus, spreading invisibly through architecture, influencing consciousness, guiding social development, according to plans laid down by intelligences that may not. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of history's most dangerous and carefully hidden mysteries. Keep questioning everything. Keep exploring the connections between ancient knowledge and modern control systems. And never stop examining the possibility that the reality you think you're living in may be far more carefully constructed than you ever imagined. Because the truth isn't just out there, waiting to be discovered. The truth is all around you, embedded in every building, every space, every architectural environment that shapes your thoughts and emotions without your conscious awareness. And once you see it, you can never unsee it again.